and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
So today I'll be continuing with my 2026 college football game-by-game prediction and roster preview videos with the Virginia Tech Hokies. Virginia Tech had the 30th ranked recruiting class in 2026, not getting any 5-star commitments, but did get 7 4-star commitments. And head coach James Franklin had the 7th ranked portal group. He added 27 players, but only 3 of them were 4 stars. So starting on the offensive side of the ball, they only averaged 26.8 points per game last season, which ranked only 83rd in the country. But I do expect them to average more like 30 points per game this year. So at quarterback, James Franklin brings over the quarterback from Penn State, Ethan Grunkemeyer, who started the last 7 games of the season for Penn State, except all of his starts were not with James Franklin being the coach. They were with interim head coach Terry Smith because James Franklin got fired at the same time that Disaster Aller had the season-ending injury. But while I didn't think Grunkemeyer was an elite quarterback, I did think he got better as the season went on. He threw 178 passes and completed 123 of them for a very accurate 69.1% average, and threw for 1,339 yards and a very solid 7.5 yards per throw average. And he had 8 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, except he's not a dual threat quarterback at all. But I think he'll be an upgrade for them at quarterback. And at wide receiver, Virginia Tech was able to keep their best one from last season, Aiden Green, who had last season in 11 games, 31 catches for 516 and 3 touchdowns, averaging a really impressive 16.6 catch. And they bring in from Duke Quincy Brown, who had in 14 games last year 64 catches for 846 and 5 touchdowns, averaging 13.2 a catch. And they're in good shape with the starting running back, with Marcellus Hawkins coming back, one of the better running backs in college football, who had 749 yards and a touchdown on 118 carries last season in 11 games, averaging a really good 6.3 yards per carry. And their offensive line should be strong because they've got 4 starters coming back, and they were good in run blocking last year. They averaged 182.4 rushing yards per game, which ranked 34th in the country, and 4.9 yards per run, but they do need to do better in pass protection. They gave up 29 sacks last season. So now on the defensive side, they were horrible here last year, giving up 30.2 points per game on average, which ranked only 106th in the country. But James Franklin made a surprising hire, hiring who he replaced as the head coach of Virginia Tech, Brent Pry, who Virginia Tech fired 3 games into last season, I believe, to be the defensive coordinator. But I would trust Franklin to have the defense a lot better because he usually at least has a solid defense. So the defensive line, though, probably won't really be any better. They gave up on average 153.3 rushing yards per game last season. And Kamari Copeland comes back, who's really their only proven defensive lineman. He had 47 tackles and 4.5 sacks, 20 total quarterback pressures, and an interception. And he set a Virginia Tech bench press record of 510 pounds. And then at linebacker, they've got their top two back, including Caleb Spencer, who was their top tackler with 67 tackles, even though he only started 5 games last year, but he played in all 12 games and also had half a sack and a pass breakup. Virginia Tech, I do think, is going to be a good bit better at stopping the pass this year after giving up 224.8 passing yards per game on average last season. So at cornerback, one starter returns, but he does need to play better. But they do bring in one of the best portal cornerbacks, Jaquez White, who had in 14 games with Troy last season. 67 tackles, a sack, two total pressures, 3 interceptions, one for a touchdown, and 11 pass breakups. And they do return both starting safeties, but they do both need to play better. So now for the game-by-game predictions, starting with an FCS opponent, VMI. This will just be a pretty much a name-your-score type of game for Virginia Tech. They'll be able to put in their backups at halftime. So now Old Dominion, a group of 5 team, and I can't call this a name your score game for Virginia Tech because Old Dominion beat them 45-26 last year. But I do think James Franklin will have them good enough to where at the start of the fourth quarter, Virginia Tech is able to put in their second string players. So now on the road at Maryland. So I at first was going to pick Maryland to beat Virginia Tech because it is on the road and they have an elite quarterback in Malik Washington who I do think will win Maryland one game pretty much by himself this coming season. And Maryland does have a very experienced defensive unit, but the problem is it's not good experience. And I think Franklin is a way better coach than Loxley is. So even with Maryland having the quarterback advantage, I do have to go with Virginia Tech to get the win in what I think is going to be a very close game. So now on the road at Boston College. So with it being the second of back-to-back road games, I'm not saying it won't be close and that it won't give Virginia Tech a scare. It probably will end up being close, except Virginia Tech I have to pick to win this one too because except for the safety position, they're better everywhere than Boston College is, I believe, by at least a little bit. And they also have the better coaching staff. So now at home against Pittsburgh on a Friday night. So this game is so close to me that if it was on the road, I would probably go with Pittsburgh. But with it being at home on a Friday night, I have to go with the home team, which is Virginia Tech, to get the win by about a field goal. So now on the road at California. So Cal is going to have a chance to hang around with pretty much anybody they play just because of their quarterback play. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Jaron Kiwi Sugapalate. And I do think they hang around in this game with Virginia Tech. Except the problem is besides the quarterback play, I think Virginia Tech is better than Cal everywhere, and they do have the more proven coaching staff than Cal has got. So I am going with Virginia Tech to get this win in a close one. So now Georgia Tech, this is going to be an extremely close game that goes down to the end in my opinion. So Georgia Tech has the better running back room and the better tight end and the better linebacker unit than Virginia Tech does, but Virginia Tech has the more proven quarterback and the better wide receiver room, and the better lines of scrimmage and the better secondary. So I am going to go with Virginia Tech to get this win. So now on the road at Clemson, this I think is going to be a very close game that goes down to the end, because overall the rosters of these two teams I think are very similar, but I am going with Clemson, and the big reason for that is going by my predictions for both of these teams that this will be a huge game in the ACC, and you know how James Franklin is in these types of games, he always loses. So now on the road at SMU. So even with a bye week in between it and the Clemson game, there's no way I can pick James Franklin to go on the road and win. And going by my predictions for both of these teams is going to be another huge game in the ACC. Even though I think this will be a close game that probably goes down to the end. So now Stanford. So Stanford's ceiling this season, I think, is 6 wins. But I have to go with Virginia Tech to win this game because I think they do have a little bit better quarterback and better wide receiver room, which will put them at an advantage in the passing game. And they do have the better running back and offensive line too, so that'll put them at an advantage in the run game too. And I also think Virginia Tech has the better defensive line and overall defense than Stanford does. And also, you've got coaching and home field advantage that are advantages for the Hokies. So I think Virginia Tech gets the win in what could be a pretty close game. So now on the road at Miami. So I think Virginia Tech is somewhat competitive in this game, but I think in the fourth quarter, Miami starts to pull away and wins it by around 17 points because Miami has the better coaching staff, I believe, and they have the advantage in the passing game because they've got the better quarterback and wide receiver room than Virginia Tech has got, and they can match Virginia Tech in the run game, I think, and Miami has the better defense than Virginia Tech does too. So now the rivalry game with Virginia. So even though Virginia blew out Virginia Tech last season, before that meeting, Virginia Tech had won 19 out of the last 20 meetings with Virginia. So because of the history and coaching and home field advantage, I'm going with the Hokies to take back that trophy. So my final prediction for Virginia Tech in 2026 is 9-3 overall and 6-3 in the conference. So a typical James Franklin season, winning every time except when it matters the most, but still a huge improvement for Virginia Tech. So that'll be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back very soon.